What is going on, everybody? Paul here, coming at you with your Crypto Coffee update, where we start the day by discussing news and upcoming events in the cryptoverse, all while enjoying our fresh cup of coffee. First segment is the News Byte, but join me now for our simultaneous sip. Now that is a great way to start the day. Alright everyone, we've discussed what's known as smart money on this channel before. It's a caliber of person that has hundreds of millions of dollars, at least, most likely multiple billions, at their discretion for investment purposes. Today we're going to be exploring how these large net worth individuals, a group that's often tight-knit and privy to the exclusivity between them, are beginning to impact the world of crypto and shape it in their own image, for better or for worse. First, let's explore how these investors are different from folks like you and I. Osato Nomayo has a great article over at the Bitcoinist about the subject and examines one new potential solution coming down the pipe. But before we get to that, how are these mega rich different? Well, when the mega rich want to buy Bitcoin, see, there are only so many buyers and sellers in the market that are buying and selling at certain prices. So folks may be selling, let's say, a certain amount of Bitcoin at $8,500, and then more still at $8,550, and so on and so forth. This is what's known as an order book. It's just a device that keeps track of how much of something is being sold and at what price. Thanks to the popularity of Bitcoin, it's nearly impossible for a regular individual like you or I to have a major impact on the total number of Bitcoin being sold at a certain price. It would take a lot of money. This isn't quite the case for high net worth individuals who, upon entering the market, have a chance to buy up a large quantity of Bitcoin, thereby leading to a less than natural price spike or price dip. We've seen these kind of price spikes and dips before in Bitcoin history when large volumes are either bought or sold. This can often be to margins being called in after support or resistance is broken, but the important thing to note here is that high net worth individuals can move markets in this fashion on their own accord without bumping up against resistance or support, and without working together with other individuals. It's all them. Now, huge swings upward and downwards aren't really conducive of market predictability. That's something that is particularly necessary for smart money, since generally speaking, they like to take consistently winning positions. Now, for this reason, these individuals often look to buy smaller positions over longer periods of time as to not shake up the market too heavily in the interim. This is called scaling in. Enter Peter Thiel, a billionaire investor who's setting up his own company that helps these large net worth individuals buy Bitcoin in such a fashion. Thiel's emerging company, Founders Fund, will assist the rich with the often delicate process of buying large volumes of Bitcoin in a reasonable and safe way without moving the markets too heavily in one direction or another. Now, part 2. Remember, the ultra-rich are a tight-knit group. Not far on the heels of this announcement by Thiel was an announcement by the global banking giant Goldman Sachs, who's seeking to trade their own Bitcoin futures. Keep in mind, the Chicago Commodity Exchange began trading Bitcoin futures back in December, so this isn't a particularly new approach, but it is something new for Goldman Sachs. Bitcoin futures are basically paper claims that represent a speculation on the future value of Bitcoin at a particular date. Said another way, if I think Bitcoin's gonna go up in price over the next month and the contract ends on a certain date, I can buy a futures contract that says, hey, if the Bitcoin price indeed goes up and is above the price I bought it at that certain date, I will receive a payment for this contract. If the price instead goes down, I'm left holding a now useless contract since I lost money on the deal. I just made a bad call. It's in this way that no one is actually buying Bitcoin when they buy a futures contract. There's really no Bitcoin itself involved. They're only buying a paper claim based on the speculative future of the price of Bitcoin. It's very different from what Peter Thiel is doing, since Peter Thiel's company is actually helping the ultra-rich buy the cryptographically secure token, that is Bitcoin. Futures contracts, no actual Bitcoin involved. As you may be imagining, this has huge implications for the price of Bitcoin in context of high net worth individuals. For example, let's say I buy a ton of futures contracts and I say, hey, I'll get paid if the price of Bitcoin goes up or down. Then I talk to my friend Joe, another high net worth individual. Remember, these guys are tight knit. He gets in touch with Peter Thiel, buys a lot of actual Bitcoin, and the price spikes just in time for my futures contracts to be fulfilled successfully. Sounds like a win-win situation for both Peter Thiel and the two ultra-rich, huh? If this process sounds unfair, it's because it is. This is how high net worth individuals have cornered and steered the global markets for decades now, oftentimes resulting in financial calamity and destitution for the middle class, and the likes of which have never been seen before in human history. Think the dot-com crash, the 2008 market crash, and coming up next, Deutsche Bank and Montepaschi's coming collapse. This betting on a bet of a bet is what's known as a derivative. On your screen, you see a fantastic visual representation of the size of the derivatives market courtesy of visualcapitalist.com. In this visual example, one block is equal to $100 billion. Derivatives have been called the global casino for big banks, which is entirely accurate. The world's collective GDP is roughly $75 trillion according to the World Bank, a huge number. Derivatives are notoriously hard to calculate because of their fluid nature. They're always being delivered, fulfilled, purchased, and issued. However, rough estimates calculate the low-end value of the derivatives market to be about $228 trillion, with some estimates as large as a quadrillion dollars. This means the banks are running the global economy with an amount of debt worth 3 years of humanity's collective work. Said another way, if all derivatives went to zero, every human on Earth, man, woman, and child, would need to work 3 solid years to break even. This is mass enslavement on a global scale using a complicated system of debt and entanglement of global obligations. Go check out the sources below in the description for more fantastic visual assistance like this in imagining this massive web of finance. On January 3rd, 2009, Satoshi Nakamoto mined the first block of Bitcoin, known as the Genesis block. In that block, he put a message, quote, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks," end quote. Satoshi knew very well how ugly and dangerous the global banking system really is. You now see a representation of the value of Bitcoin using the same metrics we saw earlier. Notice the striking difference in scale. Now this is a bit outdated, it would be 4 blocks now. The global banking system has devolved into a massive predatory hydra that feasts on the productive capacity of the unknowing that it enslaves. This is in no way just and in no way fair. This recent move by Goldman Sachs and other banks is a thinly veiled attempt to encircle the crypto market using the perceived power of the fiat printing press. The ever-depreciating paper and cotton Federal Reserve notes are being used with our consent to undermine the very system that has the best chance at saving our freedom. The question is now, what are you going to do about it? You can either learn the truth, pulling back the veil of your enslavement and empower those around you and yourself, or we can continue to walk in a clouded stupor, headlong down that same road they walked in 1913 as they established the Federal Reserve in a secret closed-door meeting only to be revealed decades later. The difference today? There are no closed doors. The only thing stopping you from empowering yourself with knowledge today is the process of doing your own research. If you don't know how, then that's all right. You're in the right place. Our most recent newsletter has a great article going into detail about how to do your own research, and the Discord is always being filled with new information. Nowadays, the only tool you need is an open mind, and the only thing you need to pay is attention. After all, there's no price tag on truth. That's all we got for the news today. A little more somber, but I hope it was able to offer some enlightening information that you can use in your own life to empower yourself and those around you. Let's go ahead and get into the happenings of the week. Friday, May 4th, we have a Chainges conference going on in Amsterdam. Waves is having an AMA. GopherCon 2018 is a Go programming language conference happening in Singapore. And the Community Ethereum Dev Conference in Toronto is still going on today, and that's ending tomorrow, May 5th, Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, May 5th, BlockHack 2018 is going on in Delaware, sponsored by Stratus. The 2018 Global Graphene Blockchain Dev Conference is happening in Shanghai, and yours truly, over on Cryptide, we are having a panel of discussions starting at 4 p.m. UTC on Saturday, where we will be discussing all kinds of things, including wallet security, getting started in crypto, differences and similarities between Forex and crypto, and much, much more. We'd love to have you there. And for Sunday, May 6th, I didn't find anything. A few small things happening, but nothing really newsworthy, just a relaxing day in general. That's all we got for today's Crypto Coffee update. As usual, all links below in the description, as well as a list of B-list coins. They're not bad tokens, there's just far too much to report on and honor everybody's time. So, that's all we have for today. Like, share, subscribe, and remember, the tide is rising.